Welcome to Connecting the Community podcast. I am your host, Marge Andre. I will be connecting you to people, organizations, and events that create community. I am creating this podcast in Richmond Hill, an eclectic and very culturally diverse community with lots of trees and streams and interesting people, just up the hill from Toronto. On this podcast, I will be talking with Shazer Ahmed about an upcoming event. This Sunday, February 25th, 2:30 to 5, there is this event, Voices for Peace 2024. Subtitle is Women of Faith, a dialogue on world peace, justice, and harmony in light of the Israeli-Palestine conflict. It is hosted by the Ahmadiyya Women's Association Canada. This event is an opportunity to come together to discuss what Islam and Judaism really have to say about human rights, justice, and peace, and if it is at all possible for Muslims and Jews to live in harmony together. Shazer is a member of the National Executive Board of the Women's Auxiliary. They call that the Shazer Ahmed Canada. And she holds the office of the National Auditor. She is part of the organizing committee of this event. So welcome, Shazer.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Marge. Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. I'm so glad that we have found the time to do this.
Shazer, absolutely. No.
Shazer, I'd like you to introduce yourself. And since you are the auditor for your board, are you an accountant?
So thank you again for the opportunity. My name is Shazer Ahmed, and I do serve as the National Auditor of Lajna Ahmadiyya, which is the Women's Auxiliary Association of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community here in Canada. And in answer to your question, no, I am not a certified accountant, but I know enough about it to be able to pass by as an auditor. Yes.
So could you tell us a little about yourself? Like what do you do? And have you always lived in Canada? What sort of job do you have? I'm curious of who you are.
Okay, so basically, no. I'm not sure if you would have detected, but I do have somewhat of a British accent. So no, I immigrated to Canada some 25 years ago after getting married. And I've been blessed to have a wonderful journey here in Canada. So as part of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community, so I'm a born Muslim in Ahmadi Muslim. And so I work, like you said, as an auditor. I volunteer. I do have a day job, but in my capacity as an auditor, we are organized separately to the men. We have 25 departments in the organization, one of which is finance and auditing. And basically, my job is to audit the accounts of the 111 branches that we have nationwide. That is basically what I do. It's quite, you can imagine 111 branches. It's quite the undertaking.
Yes,
but I do enjoy it, and I'm blessed to be able to serve my community.
Very nice, very good. Now it sounds like it is a demanding job. So I suspect that many of the podcast listeners don't know too much about the Ahmadiyya faith. Can you enlighten us?
Yes, absolutely. So Ahmadi Muslims, they believe that Mirza Ghulam Ahmad, peace be upon him, was the promised Messiah and the Mahdi, whose advent was foretold by the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him. We categorically reject terrorism, and we are divinely guided by our current Khalifa, Mirza Masroor Ahmad, who resides in London. We have a population of approximately 111 branches here in Canada, but we have tens of millions of followers globally.
Okay. Okay. And it's a relatively new, do I call it a sect, a group?
Yes,
Yeah.
it's the 73rd sect of Islam, and we
Okay.
branch off from Sunni Muslims.
Okay.
But yes, it is, like I said, it's the last in the 73rd sect.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay. This weekend's event happens at the Tahiri Large facility up there on Jane and Teston Road. And this Tahir Hall, it's a large multi-use facility, community center adjacent to the mosque. So, the facility, it serves all of York Region and beyond. Like, what is the reach? And I have been there 5 or 6 times.
Yes, so it is, Tyre Hall is adjacent to the mosque, which is in the same vicinity, and it does serve the immediate population of York Region and GTA, I would
Hmm.
say. So we hold all of our events there. It's often visited by government officials, and like I said, all of our official um, conferences are also held there.
Hmm.
Yeah, and nationwide, obviously, at least with respect to the women, we have 12,000 plus members. But in the vicinity of the GTA, we would probably have about 6,000,
Okay.
5 to 6,000 here. Um, yeah, no,
So,
so it's definitely a very um, large facility.
mhm.
And it certainly holds us well in terms of being able to hold these events. So,
Yeah, it does. You've built a great structure there. So, and I've learned that it opened in 1992, which I guess is a little while ago. So, how long have you been involved with the community? Have you been involved since it began in 1992?
so like I said, I'm a born Ahmadiyya Muslim. In some capacity, I've always been involved.
Yeah.
But as national auditor, I've been serving since 2016.
Okay.
So coming up to about almost 8 years, and I haven't been fired yet, so I'm good.
Okay. Okay. So, yeah, just trying to get things in context there.
Mhm.
Okay, let's start talking about this event that's happening on Sunday. Like, why are you doing it? I know you do a lot of events, but I do believe the impetus is the current escalating conflict in Palestine. And I'm just curious, is there contact between the people in your Ahmadiyya community and people in Gaza? And is there an Ahmadiyya community in Palestine? I don't
Yes,
believe
there
I've
is.
ever heard like what group of Muslims are there. And I know there's all faiths there. So can you talk about that?
Yeah, no, we definitely do have an Ahmadiyya Muslim community in Gaza, specifically.
Hmm.
It's comparatively obviously smaller than the larger Sunni population or, other communities of other religious denominations. But unfortunately, much like everyone, we have had martyrs from our community there as well. Um, but the purpose of the whole event really is to try and bring together people, um, so that we can basically talk about the pain and the suffering that we ourselves in our community are seeing and experiencing because of what we are seeing on our phones, about the experiences in Gaza. We're hoping to have this as a forum so that people can acknowledge each other's pain and listen to each other's experiences. It's not uh, an event where we are anti-Israel or obviously anti-Islam. We want to be able to speak about the experiences that people have there. And we're actually very blessed to be um, our panelists are both from Haifa in Israel. So we have a Palestinian Muslim and an Israeli Jew who both resided there, and we're hoping that they're going to be speaking about their experiences there of what it is to live life over in Israel.
Mm.
And it's basically we're hoping at the end of this to build bridges between the communities. Unfortunately, since October 7th, a lot of people have erected walls. They've chosen not to want to speak to each other because that just gives rise to further hostilities. And we're just basically hoping to break down those walls, understand each other's pain, and it's supposed to provide, a safe space to speak. It's not one of judgment. It's just simply to allow each other to feel and hear each other's pain over this whole instant, and to actually, the most primary purpose of this event is to actually explore and understand what both Islam and Judaism have to say about peace, tolerance, and respect in communities. And then obviously we'll be discussing how it interplays with the situation in Gaza specifically and in Israel.
Right. Okay. So can you sort of walk us through the afternoon? You said how they've got these two ladies who are talking.
Mhm.
What else, like what happens in the afternoon?
So initially, like I said, the first part of so it's basically like a fireside chat we'll be
Mhm.
having. So we have two invited panelists, like I said, and so we'll initially be exploring like the religious aspects. What do the two religions say and teach us about peace, respect, and then we will go on to hear the experiences of these two panelists, and explore again what life is going like living in Israel.
Mhm.
um, and then we will have a question answer session where we invite the audience to ask questions both of the panelists as well as the organizers as well. And it is again supposed to be an open, safe space for everyone to speak freely. There will be absolutely zero tolerance for any disrespectful or participants, which I hope we won't see any of.
Right.
But that's the agenda, at least for the events.
Okay. So, and are we sitting at tables or is it theater style? Just trying to
It's
imagine.
theatre style,
Yeah.
and they will like the panelists will be. We do have a lovely stage set up where there'll be, like a fireside chat setting, and it's basically just to make everybody feel at ease. It's a very interactive program,
Hmm.
so like I said, everybody will have an opportunity to speak. At the question answer session if they wish, or they can even speak separately to the panelists if they wish,
Hmm.
after the formal program has ended. Again, it's just to build bridges, and to unite and collectively unite in this unfortunate the
Hmm.
situation that is arising.
Okay. Very good. No, I'm very pleased that you are doing this. It is a women's only event. Can you speak
Correct.
to why it is women's, like why have women's only?
Well, I mean, Islam teaches us to be, as women, it teaches us to be strong, independent, and, autonomous, basically, in a lot of ways. So we find that when we have these separate events to men, we don't feel, that we need to compete for a time to voice our concerns, or, um, to speak our thoughts. We feel that we actually realize our potential that much more when we're not having to, compete in their shadows, or so to speak. So it really, as females, obviously, we're sisters, we're mothers, we're daughters, and that gives us a different perspective, we feel, on various events or challenges in our lives. And we feel that if we have a women's only event, it again allows us to speak to those um, responsibilities and to those models that we all have.
Okay, thank you for that explanation. So coming to the event, I am looking forward to it very much, but is it necessary to be dressed in a certain way? Do you need
Oh,
head
no,
covering? No.
no,
Okay.
no,
Okay.
no, no,
Oh,
not
okay. I can
not
wear
at
my
all.
jeans and boots and I'm
Oh,
okay. Okay.
absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
So,
No, there's definitely no code of dress
okay.
there.
And
We just want you to come with an open mind, basically.
okay, that's important. And it's not in the mosque, so we don't have to worry about taking your shoes off, correct?
No, no,
No.
it's not in the mosque, it is in the community center.
Yes.
But if anybody wants to visit the mosque, they can certainly, we can arrange that.
Okay.
And even there, you don't need to have your head covered. You will be asked to take off your shoes, obviously. But that's outside. But yes,
Yeah, yeah.
the actual event is being held in the community center.
Okay, so just practical questions there. Uh, are the refreshments served? Do I need to bring my water bottle, my mug of tea?
Oh, yes,
Okay.
absolutely. No, no,
Okay.
no.
Yep.
Refreshments will absolutely be served. I'm sure we'll be parched by the end.
Yes. Okay. Very good. Any idea how many people you are expecting?
We're hoping to have at least around 200.
Very good.
Again, it's about, and again, thank you so much for this opportunity to be able to speak to it. It is really an open invitation for people with open minds and,
Yeah. Very
feeling
good.
hearts, basically.
Okay. Well, I've got about 5 or 6 friends coming, and so
Oh,
I'm looking forward to interacting with them and hearing their comments about things. So, yeah, I'm so glad that you actually are doing this. It is necessary to register, though, that you are
it is,
attending. So,
yes.
yeah,
We absolutely would appreciate it. Apart
yes,
from the organization perspective, um, I think it's going to help us to determine, the kind of crowds that we can expect. So
definitely.
yes, registration is open up until the last minute.
Okay.
So
Hmm.
yeah,
Very good. Okay, now I will put the link in the podcast notes. So that's yeah. So I hope to see many of the listeners there. So come and talk to both of us if you come. Uh, so anything else that you wanted to add?
no, I mean, we really do hope that people will be open to this. It is obviously there's very heightened sensitivity around this subject, um, but I think in the absence of uniting in this way, people tend to basically build up their prejudices, especially at times like this. And that's what we're trying to eradicate, basically. We
Yeah,
want to be able to build those bridges, come together, and just speak to each other and,
yeah,
hear each other and talk and listen and feel each other's pain and understand actually we have much more in common than we do, you know,
yeah.
than the differences that we have.
Very good. Yeah. No, I'm so glad that you are doing this. So I do end podcasts with the guest response to the same question. And the question is, name one thing you really like about this community.
Hands down, it has to be the diversity.
Mhm.
The Ahmadiyya Muslim community here is obviously just one piece of a much bigger puzzle. And it's so nice and heartwarming to know that we can live in this community, even though obviously we hear so many bad things. But I think as a community, we come together, we play together, we laugh together. And that's what tells me, well, that's what's Vaughan and the York region speaks to me about. And, you know, and we're just hoping that this event will be another step nearer to that goal.
Very good. Okay. I like that answer. So thank you, Shazara, for taking the time to do this podcast, and we will see you on Sunday. So,
Thank you so much, and we look forward to having you all.
okay, very good. Thanks again.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening. I would very much appreciate you sharing this podcast. Please tune in next week as we continue to explore the community. Consider emailing me at Marj, M-A-R-J, at marjandre.com. I welcome suggestions for podcast guests. Stay well, stay connected.